don't have to shuffle through 100 different things of mediums. It's all in one place.
Right. And that the idea of the hybrid system comes through Gemini in a sense. Gemini is a hybrid bank, but it's more on the banking side. So it's a traditional bank that you can hold crypto in. And that was the whole concept behind it.
Rodrigo's asking about once we're done with licenses in the U.S., what about LATAM? Let's talk a little bit about the expansion plans. We can't go into too much detail right now. USA makes sense because there's a lot of investment available for the U.S., but we are going
where you are as well. So that makes more sense.
So we're looking at a few metrics as far as moving overseas and building a priority list. There's really
What's the issue with the UK though as well? Because that's something I mentioned on Twitter.
Money transmitter. So there's three things that you have to that qualify you as a money transmitter, and it's crypto to crypto, US dollar to crypto, or US dollar to US dollar transfers. So when you do one of those three or multiple of those three, it will require you to obtain a money transmitter license. Some states are super lenient, some are super strict. Like New York, you have to have the BIT license to do fiat to crypto transfers, whereas Massachusetts and Montana don't require you to have any fucking license to do any of those three things. So it's state by state.
And UK does.
Have you looked into the UK though? Like
you do have some rules. Yes.
Is it the same, similar thing, or
not all over the UK? Some places are more lenient than others.
Yep.
Although the UK should be universal, like England, Scotland, Wales.
Well, no, because if you look at what is it? The United Arab Emirates.
Oh, no, that's okay. So that's a different thing as
well.
Right,
but Dubai has different rules than some of the other places in there. So they are different. Just like
they're trading in London.
It dials way down. Yeah, they'll dial it way down to either state or jurisdiction or however they segment all these places out. So you have to be careful when you're looking at it. But really what we're looking at here is three factors when we're measuring as to which countries we want to start going to. So crypto friendliness is one of them. Who's the most crypto friendly? The second is the population and the age of the population. Because typically, if they have a big population and it's mostly younger, Nigeria is a huge one that ranks very high in this sector because they're all very, very young and most of them have mobile phones and they're very good on their mobile phones. And then the third one is obviously the legalities, the loopholes that we have to jump through to get our licensing there. So if it's very simple to get a license there, for example, El Salvador, not a huge population, nor do many of them have smartphones. I think it's 36% of the population, which is about, what was it? It was like 1.8 million people have smartphones there. But for us to get a license to conduct business out there is very easy, and they're very crypto friendly. So with the two of those three checked, the third issue is, mobile phones, which will, as you're bringing wealth into a country like that, say we go on a bull run and they've been dealing in crypto, all of a sudden that country's wealth just skyrockets. So it's safe to assume that mobile phones, smartphones will become more common out in a country like that. So we're looking at a few factors when we're organizing that list, and expense is of course one of them as well. Like how expensive is it going to be for us to enter that country?
Right.
So Josh, it's not that, Josh, it's not that we don't want to do UK, for example. It has to start somewhere, and as you learn, every country seems to have their own version of it. But the foundational thing that they're all worried about is preventing things like money laundering. They don't want people to launder money, and they don't want people to They're looking after their population. They don't want people to be screwed over, like what happened with FTX. So every time something like that,
this is a completely different thing to FTX. So you can't even say that's.
No, I'm saying so. every time something goes wrong, the rules are elevated to a point which makes it difficult to do what we used to be able to do easily. So think about it. Back in the days before 9/11, you could go through the check-in in under an hour, all done. Now fucking TSA and all this kind of bullshit because
you're taking your pants down before you go.
Exactly. You know, take your finger up your ass to check you're not hiding a bomb there, right? So just like that, because of something like FTX happening, SEC gets all riled up, and then the government gets all riled up, and they're like, we need to protect the investors, and they make it much more harder to obtain those kind of licenses that used to be easy to get back in the days. So it's per country basis, and sometimes within a country is per state, like USA. So that's why it's going to be a slow rollout. But then when we do roll out, then we have to do this ranking to say, okay, who's first and who's next.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, have you got like a list of?
We're working on
that easiness, and then you could literally publish. Surely, like
we will
down the list. People are,
as to which countries we're working on next.
But, I mean, it makes sense. Like, I think of World Mobile focusing on Zanzibar.
Right.
Zanzibar. Yeah,
that's a great
to make sure they've got the working product. Yeah.
Right. That was a great. It's a great illustration because they picked Zanzibar for the right regulatory reasons. The right, they had people that were there. That's exactly. They did the exact same kind of iteration to figure out what would work.
Yeah, there was a product market need for it as well. Right.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just from a tech spec side of things. Our product is set up for internationalization so that it will be easy to add a language to our product.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think I made it pretty obvious on Twitter. I got well excited about this product.
Yeah, so you did, and so it's it's very cool from that front. So it will it's just, if it were just as simple as adding the language and handing the app over, we'd love that.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, when money's involved, there's lots of rules.
I think it's the products that need to succeed just need to, for the user experience, just needs to be just fucking simple. They don't need to fucking know. As in, like I said in my interview with Hosky, even he was saying, it's like you go to an ATM machine. You don't need to know what's going on in the back end. You just need to know you put your card in, you put some numbers in, and you get your money out.
Exactly.
And it's the same with this. You just want to be able to go, okay, you want paying?
We have an amazing, we have an amazing UI UX designer.
You do it with Apple Pay already, exactly the same way.
Yep.
His number one goal, we told him, is to make the app so simple that grannies can use it, like without being an ageist. The idea behind it is that it's supposed to be simple, with the tweaks of being able to do advanced stuff if you want it. Like, for example, set up a wallet within the app, or maybe add another app wallet and then have it as something that you can export, and all kinds of crazy things you can do. But it's there like that you opt in rather than everything being showing up at once. So UI UX is a huge concern, and then he's well experienced, and he's putting this as the foremost thought into designing the app to make it simple to use.
I can't imagine it being that difficult, UX, UI wise.
Well,
the difficulty is in making it simple. The difficulty is that we can't
take this really complicated shit and make it as simple as possible. You have to do all the thinking for everyone, and then run through 1,000 different scenarios of, okay, if Bob shows up and does XYZ, what are going to be the results of this, and make sure that there's no dead ends. There's a lot to it.
I've got to say, from my my fiat mining job, our company, our my wife, we have a UI UX guy. So I'm clearly not the expert. I definitely hire someone to do it, but
right.
So Caleb wants to know, hey guys, an older live stream showed Main Street for Q4 2024. Is that still the estimated timeline? I think that's about right. We've got some things to do from a funding perspective to actually make that happen, because this isn't just a project that we can just build and then go to market with. We actually
look at all these people digging through these old SpacePlace. When were they talking about Main Street?
That's
I've heard of it.
I know who it is.
Oh, but based on the community feedback that we received, it looks like the community is going to get behind this one with us. And if that's
it was a good video. Anthony, did you do the video for that?
You did the audio.
Yeah, do you know, I knew it because I knew it from, it was very similar to the Crypto Keeper sort of style. And it was just, I saw the same sort of, you know, you have like a signature to your art there. And I saw it. And the fact you were talking over it also helped. But
so bear in mind,
it was a good video, man. Yeah, for sure.
The app is multifaceted. Like it's got multiple features, and they can't all come out in one go. It has to go in tandem with which licenses we obtain and where we're allowed to operate, and then one feature at a time. But I think at least the MVP can come out, assuming that everything is on track.
But drip
funding, licensing,
on brand.
You know, it's kind of difficult. Like going back to talking about that license again. If you think about it, what we're trying to introduce is fiat and crypto together for the masses, right? Now, in countries like Nigeria, the country is actively working to basically limit the amount of dollars you can, or the Nigerian currency you can withdraw, and they want you to promote. They want to promote their own CBDC, like they have one. So the e-Naira, I think is what it's called. So they want the population. So you can imagine going into a country like that saying, hey, we got a product that says we don't need your CBDC, but instead the entire rest of the world's currency, like the cryptocurrency, is available to them. Obviously, the people would love it. Do you think the government would allow it? So it's not. It's very difficult to get these licenses as well because of the reasons I said. You know, failure of something like FTX. On top of every government having their national interest at hand, like which country would want to see their national currency be debased by something new like crypto? There'll be some friction.
I mean, are we going to go off on a tangent to CBDCs, or do you want to carry on?
CBDCs nuts. Real quick, I want to address Rodrigo wants to know if we'll take it to Latin America. Yeah, there's no reason that this is not going to go global. Once we get product market fit down, and we've got all our hooks and we're sure we've got the model fucking tuned, yeah, we're going to scale the hell out of it.
Yep. You're really quiet, Kyle. Can you turn yourself up somehow?
I can. Hold on. Let me work on that.
Everyone's asking that's outside of the United States.
Yeah,
when my country...
That's right.
Yeah.
Basically, that was my first thing. Like, why not UK?
Guys, we have it.
What can I do? Tell me what to do.
We will get to your country. I promise we will.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll host the vote on drip drops, and you can vote with your drip token in which country is next.
Well, no, we can't vote on countries because it requires the attorney.
Can I hold you to that? Now you've said it.
No.
The CTO said.
Let's start I'm gonna start muting Lath here. I'm gonna have to mute him. But no, what we can do is
this is streaming on AdaPulse as well. So
right. So what we can say is that we're working with attorneys that work in the different countries. We have international attorneys that are working through the process with us. We will, so we're going to have a whole lot more clarity on when for countries when that process completes. That's a whole process.
So this just to be clear though, this is a catalyst proposal, right?
This catalyst proposal is to help us cover our MTL costs
in the U.S.
You're kind of spending it anyway. You're kind of still like if you've got international attorneys going on, you're spending money already.
Josh, can you hear me better now or no?
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah,
okay.
We are hemorrhaging money. It's crazy how, this app, like I said, just to get like the most stupid version of the app, and our bare minimum to become legal is like over 600,000, 650 to 800,000 is what it's going to cost. The whole app itself is probably going to be between 2 and 3 million. And this is now we're reaching global. We're getting outside of the US. We have where's
most of that money going? Like, is that when you say like 2 to 3 million? Is that
in development? It's in licensing. It's in legal fees. I mean, dude, the international attorneys are like a fucking $1,000 an hour.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what as soon as you said it, it's like you must be spending money now.
Oh fuck yeah. We got $250,000 just in vendor fees and things like that. So our last catalyst proposal is covering our Fireblocks contract. Shit's not cheap, right? and we did start the process of executing our MTL. So we've already signed the contract with the lawyer. We're on the fucking hook no matter what.
Right.
So
yep. So
yeah,
we got
we're
that
spending
underway.
for sure.
Fireblocks.
So you're
is underway.
basically just looking for a bit of support to help get this.
Exactly.
You know,
that's
there you
exactly
go.
it.
Every product building in the bear market is basically looking for that runway.
We're asking the community to bet on a proven, functional team.
Yeah, we don't expect to make like the team make money within the next 3 to 5 years. Like that's when our ROI kicks in and we start actually making money from this project. So we're willing to gamble and say, hey, we're going to build this out because we think it's actually going to work. And
It's needed, it's going to work, and it's going to bring more users to Cardano. And the only way to do it is sweat equity. Like, for example, Andrew and I and Adam and everybody could stay up all night building the code, right? But if we don't have the license or the vendors that we need to operate with, for example, Plaid, let me show you, explain what Plaid does. The Plaid is a company that's going to enable you to withdraw at a bank account, actually throw the funds into it. So if you're a vendor like a hit barber, throughout the week you've been charging, I don't know, Bitcoin, ADA, and Ethereum, top 3 currencies that you support, right? You've earned this, and you need to obviously pay your bills, right? You need to convert that to fiat to pay for your electricity, rent, and all that. So that's where Plaid comes in. You got Fireblocks.
I know nothing about Plaid, so feel free to sort of. So I did read about it, and I'd still.
We have 4 main partnerships that are happening to make Main Street happen. Fireblocks, Plaid, Chainalysis, and Google's new AI. Actually, they just emailed. I have to fill out, we have to sign an NDA to get pricing from them. Yeah, Fireblocks is what runs the back end of exchanges like Kraken. So when you buy or sell cryptocurrency, they're the OTC provider. When you buy or sell crypto on the Kraken exchange, that is all done by Fireblocks, and that's what gives us our exchange capabilities on Main Street. If you want to buy ADA, you can do just that. We have Chainalysis, which is our KYT provider, which is essentially AML for the blockchain. So what it does is it looks at addresses that are sending crypto in and taking crypto out, and it looks at address history. So if that address has interacted with Silk Road or has been involved with the Tornado Cash debacle or anything like that, it will let us know. And it shows us how many hops. It's a very, very complex system that they put together. It's an awesome team. Our next vendor is Plaid, which basically connects us to the traditional banking system. So when you input your debit credit card or you connect your bank account to fund your account or withdraw your funds, that's all done through Plaid.
Yeah, because you can't just call an API or something and say move money.
You can't there's no API.
Like Monzo, yeah, like it's the kind of relationship somebody like Monzo would do. But I know that Monzo have like deep wired connection to their traditional banks, but Plaid is like more of like a digital version of that.
Well, if you think of like QuickBooks, a QuickBooks can read your bank feed, but there's no going back. You can't
exactly. There's no in and out. That's because of the standard that was sort of approved, where every bank who has a bank account are obligated to have a bank feed that exposes a transaction history, so that like these other people can look into it, like QuickBooks, Xero, and things like that.
Yeah. I always say QuickBooks. That's the one I use. So
yeah, I use Xero.
I'm not gonna let you plug Xero.
I dropped a link here for everybody. This is the link to the proposal for Fund 10 for Main Street. You guys will see that the money request is specifically for the things we're talking about here today: the money transmitter licensing, the
and to Josh, to come back around, why are costs going to be so high too? We're not even really factoring in the numbers and spitting out is our customer acquisition cost, right? Cost for each customer, the cost we have to spend in marketing dollars to acquire each customer. It's going to be substantial. You know, I could see us putting in proposals.
Yeah, I was going to say, marketing wasn't mentioned.
Yeah,
we need foots on the ground as well to go.
We're not even worried about that yet. I mean, we're just
that's what I mean. Yes,
no, we've got to prove a test market out and make sure the technology is sound, and then we actually have to build out a sales channel, right? Because
but it sounds like the technology is pretty sound. It's already proven and tested, like you just said. It's Kraken's back,
but it's combining all the ingredients together to make something that works. So you can take eggs and flour and water and milk and sugar and make a cake, but that cake might taste like shit if you don't mix it right. You know? So, and then our fourth vendor is Google's newest. It's like the newest product that Google has. We met with Google, and they didn't even have pricing figured out yet. It's their AI AML compliance.
How are you talking to Google? What?
We're directly engaged.
Hold
we have
up.
calls with people from Google. Like it's like we're legit engaged with Google and one of their leading edge technology products. So
it's pretty.
We have to ensure.
I've got Mark Zuckerberg on the phone.
Shit, Fireblocks classified us as a strategic customer, and they
it took us a long time to get
enterprise level support. And we're podunky startup from Cardano. They love us.
Oh man, Carl, you're still. I've got to say, Carl, you're still really quiet, man, compared to everyone else. You're quite quiet.
All right, I'll see if I can't do better there.
And guys, I'm gonna bring Sam into the thread. We're gonna have to switch gears here a little bit.
Yeah.
We have another guest coming in today, so we're gonna bring in Sam Leathers from IO, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about what happened in Edinburgh. And I want to say, hey, Sam, welcome.
Hey, Sam.
Hello, how are you?
Very good,
Steve, man. Thanks for coming in today. So
glad to be here.
Last week I tried to talk about Sancho Net a little bit. Totally butchered the story. I was terrible at it. Figured I'd make up for it today, so I asked Sam if he could join us and hang out for a few minutes, tell us a little bit about Sancho Net, and give us the rundown on what we're coming up, what we can expect with Voltaire coming up.
Yes, so we did a demo at the SIP 1694 workshop showing the current progress on it, and we have that live on a testnet now. I think we have about 10 SPOs or so that are currently running pools on SanchoNet now. It's still the same functionality as was in the demo. You can only submit a action to change the constitution and to vote on it as an SPO, but progress will be made over the course of the next several months, adding DREP support, Constitution Committee support. We're going full ablazo implementing SIP 1694. The spec is nearly completed as well. That's done in AGDA this time. And completed for the Conway era. We still need to go back and basically put the other eras into AGDA. But it's coming along very well, and the SIP should be, we should have a couple more minor modifications to the SIP, and then it should be ready to go. But yeah, if you haven't gotten on SanchoNet yet, we just cut the 820 pre-tag now, so you don't have to just grab a random get rev off of master to participate anymore. And we'll have release notes published probably tomorrow. One thing you guys will really like in the release notes that you've been asking for a while, we now have a script that grabs all the component versions and links all the change logs for those components. So you'll be...
You're just geeking out over the updates. Sam, quick question. So is the idea that SanchoNet is like pre-prod or preview is a variant of with different configuration, but eventually the changes in the SanchoNet will make it into the main node so that the SPOs wouldn't have to run two separate nodes. It will always be their standard stateful.
It's already in the main node. So 820 is tagged as a pre-release right now because we haven't finished the benchmarks. It takes a while to do those. And issues may come up that might make us never make that one a mainnet capable release, but there will be a following node at some point that will be mainnet capable. But yeah, we basically integrated the Conway era directly into the main node.
Nice. And you mentioned right now on the SanchoNet being able to vote on Constitution. So the question is, has the Constitution been defined yet, or is there somewhere we can look at it?
Oh, you can make your own Constitution for.
Oh, we lost him. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
I can actually
crashed on me when I first joined, by the way. So
yeah,
okay.
You might have
now that Sam's not here, I fixed my mic, I think.
Oh yeah, it sounds a lot better.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. when we get a moment, not when Sam's not here, or something, are you capable or able to play the Main Street demo video?
Yeah. Actually, if we have a full version of the video, we can play it. And if you want to load it in the video clips area, you can do that. I think you have permission, and then we can play it on screen here.
Can we play it via
It was a good
YouTube?
video, man. It got me. That's pretty much all I saw about it. It got me well excited. It said enough. It said everything that you plan to do, and just the simplicity of it was pretty clear. It was a well put together video. Do you want to edit my AdaPulse videos?
So Lloyd, you were shaking your head when I mentioned Constitution. And Sam said that you can make any Constitution.
Right,
so,
because we're a test net now, right? So, so is the Cardano Constitution written? No, it is not. Like that's an important distinction, right? No, right now the Cardano Constitution.
So we're working on the capabilities to be able to vote on
it for a while. This is the tool in the node that will allow the Constitution to have a place in the node, like on chain.
The Constitution, is it simply like here are the parameters in which the Cardano node will operate by, and then, or is it more like these are the rules in which we will operate by?
It's the rules. It's actually text. I actually wish I had the demo of Sam doing that at Edinburgh. He literally wrote text into the transaction, so that
for example, we will never set the block size to 0. Okay,
exactly, rules like that. Yes.
Okay, so it's not something that is enforceable through code, but it's the rules in which we will follow. So once this Constitution is written up, a one-liner, say we will never set the block size to 0 because that would be catastrophic, right? Then all the SPOs vote on it, then is approved, and is called. Then therefore, if a new proposal comes in and say we'd like to change the, like a programmatic change to the node parameter comes in saying, I would like to change the block size to 0, then we simply refer back to the Constitution. Nope, you're not allowed to do that. So it doesn't even make itself.
But how do you enforce it then?
Well, the proposal has to be made, right? And then the node itself would honor the votes winning, basically, right? So but if the ballot can't even make itself, people are not going to vote on it. Yeah.
With the way that it works, we have a constitutional committee that checks against the Constitution. We're going to add Sam back into the call now. We got him back. There's a constitutional committee that their job is to check the constitutionality of anything that's going to go on any parameter
so
change.
Their approval is needed before any parameter change request comes in.
This is all part of the SIP 1694. So yeah, we lost you there for a minute, Sam, but welcome back. We can. I was answering Lethisan's question about whether or not the actual Constitution was written. It was explained that it's not yet, but that what you're doing is you're making the tooling that's going to allow the Constitution to live in the space, in the chain.
Correct. Yep. So the Constitution command basically lets you take any arbitrary text and hash it, and then submit a proposal to change the Constitution hash on the blockchain to that one.
Gotcha.
So that's what you can do on SunChainNet right now. The Constitution stuff is going to come later. That's not really my field of view. There's other experts we can get in here to talk about what that process is going to look like. But there will be lots of community involvement, I'm sure, in writing the Constitution and actually identifying what the Constitution is.
Yeah.
Okay. Once the Constitution is up on the chain, every time when the C word is like, nope. I guess I'll ask you, Lloyd. Once the Constitution,
like Lethisan speaking. No,
can we speak a one-liner into the Constitution? Thou shalt not run SpacePlace.
So once the Constitution is up there, and when the stake pool's voting on it, is it per stake pool vote, or is it the total stake they're controlling that applies their weight?
Why shouldn't it be pledge?
So that's an interesting thing, and pledge was brought up during Longmont as a possibility. You'll have to read in SIP 1694, but what it shows you is it shows you how your pledge plus delegation is how an SPO votes when an SPO votes, because SPOs don't vote on every matter. There are specific matters. There are if I'm remembering correctly, there's 7 different types of governance actions. Some of those governance actions are SPO and DREPs. And that's specifically the votes of no confidence on the Constitutional Committee, right? Then there's others that are related to parameter changes that are SPOs, and the Constitutional Committee are the primary voters. And then there's others that it's just the DREPs in the Constitutional Committee, mostly like the Treasury related items and things of that nature.
So,
what I was saying was like any SPO vote should only when it involves SPOs should only be based on pledge.
That's bad idea. So think of it this way: this is my speculation, but let's say a bunch of SPOs, it's like pay to win, because you can get ADA, which to pledge. That means that you're using your pledge to keep voting a certain way, and the users of that stake pool don't have any way to say that we don't like the way the stake pool is voting on by removing their stake.
They can remove their stake.
But the pledge is still there, though.
Would still count.
SPO voting is so confusing to me because we vote when we decide which fucking code to run. So it's a little weird, you know?
Well, that's ultimately what this kind of is. It's kind of formalizing rather than running the code. It's more or less formalizing whether or not to make the update to the code. Prior
right
to
now it's based on Genesis keys, right? They activate the hard fork combinator event when it should activate.
Genesis keys are going away. The whole point of SIP 1694 is there will no longer be Genesis keys. They will no longer exist. All of the governance will occur due to these governance actions, right? So that part goes away. So what we're going to end up with is
scary.
Is a system whereby some combination of those three parties will vote on each of the different governance actions as laid out in SIP 1694. If you vote for a parameter change, for instance, that is then someone is going to have to go make those parameter changes, and then they will exist on chain after that.
There'll be a new release, right? But then that particular change won't activate until the governance work go through, and then it will basically be a seamless fork, but not really a fork, but is a soft fork.
And the same thing with the forks with features, like a feature can be voted on to be coded into the system, and then that can happen. The other thing is treasury actions. A amount of it's really just, do I give this amount of ADA to this wallet? It's ultimately that simple, right? However, the process to get there will be, did I go through and create a proper proposal? Did that proper proposal show up in such a way that DREPs all agreed to vote on it? Did the Constitutional Committee look at it and agree that it is constitutional? And if so, then and then a majority of DREPs votes on it, then the money's released. But ultimately, the governance action is literally just, in exchange for doing this work or this promise, or I've completed this work and here's the receipt and I need in my invoice, right? And I would like this ADA to be delivered to this address to pay this invoice. It can go either way. Speculative, it could be front loading money, say Catalyst, right? We're putting aside 50 million ADA. Now this is inside baseball, but there's still some question as to what the largest size transaction will be. So hopefully we'll get that settled at some point here. But ultimately, we need 50 million ADA to be transmitted to,
because right now there is no checks and balance.
Catalyst, right?
Yeah. Right now there's no balance, right? Anybody can, like with the chain keys, if they want it, they could pull the entire treasury out.
That's right. And we got Sam back, and
and I'm on Wi-Fi now, so hopefully this doesn't die again.
Cool. So yeah, I was kind of walking through some of the ways some of the governance actions will work. I'd still like to wrap up with you, make sure we get some more insight on the testnet, because again, like you were saying earlier, Sam, your focus is on the code, right? You're in the node, you're doing the work there, so it's a very different world than all the machinations of of what we're going to go through politically to determine whether or not someone deserves money, or this protocol change deserves to happen. That's all pre what you work on, right? That'll all happen, and then we fight it out and we vote, and then that's where your stuff that you're working on takes over.
Yep. Yeah, it's in parallel right now. We're working on the stuff that's going to allow all that stuff to happen, but you guys as a community are all going to have to hash out exactly what it looks like with the Constitution and how things work. From a technical perspective, when we have it fully functioning on SanchoNet, anyone can submit a proposal, and then there's for different types of proposals, there's different requirements needed. So, for example, for a hard fork, you need the DREPs and you need the SPOs and the Constitution Committee to assent to it. That does not happen in any particular order. It's not like the Constitution Committee approves it and then it goes to a vote. It's basically everyone puts their votes in whenever they want, and once it reaches the threshold for that one, then as long as all the thresholds are met for all the requirements, then it automatically ratifies at the next epoch.
Very cool.
Okay. When is the notion of DREP is going to be sort of coded into the node? Or is that being worked on right now? It's like the next following update to SanchoNet.
That's being worked on right now.
Awesome.
We don't have a date yet, but yeah, it's currently being worked on.
There was a question in the chat earlier. How would the Genesis keys be terminated with the upcoming SIP 1694 implementation?
So the current plan isn't 100% solid, but basically it'll be like a Genesis file like we've had in the past that replaces GenDelegs with a CC committee, basically, and the Genesis keys will have no authority to do anything. There'll basically be no rules in the system that allow the Genesis keys to do anything after the hard fork.
So there'll be like one final transaction they sign to activate the hard fork, activating 1694.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yep. So basically, you'll have the last hard fork following the rules of the Babbage era to say, hey, go to Conway. And then once you're in Conway, now the new rules apply. Now there will be a bootstrapping phase in Conway that lets us get things set up and everything, put some guardrails on. But we don't want that to last very long. And we don't know what CC keys there's going to be in that bootstrapping phase right now. That's undefined as of yet.
So thinking about going in the future when we are able to make parameter change requests as a proposal, what would the process would look like? For example, if somebody says we really like to increase the block size to 1 megabyte, right? Does that proposal have to wait until they make the request in the node, and then it doesn't, like, everybody's running that particular version with that increased node, but it doesn't activate yet? Then the proposal is then submitted, or can the proposal go in? Does the proposal go in first, gets voted, then the node changes occurs?
It depends. So, like, if you're talking about a parameter change, that's stuff that's already in the code that's tweakable in the node. If you're talking about a hard fork, then that has to go in the code first. The parameter change, typically what would happen would be someone would submit a proposal. Once that proposal got enough traction, the parameter committee would basically evaluate it and give a recommendation to the community, including the Constitution Committee. And based on what the Constitution actually says, the Constitution Committee would be bound to vote in a certain way. So, for example, if in the Constitution, one thing people like to say, I think this came from Andrew Westberg or Adam Dean, I can't remember who first said it, but basically the Constitution might say that the blockchain has a right to live on its own. So that's basically, if someone...
That was mine.
That was yours. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mine. No, you're fine. No problem at all. That was mine at Longmont. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was in Longmont. I just couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah, that was mine in Longmont. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it said that, and someone submitted a proposal that changed the block size to 0, then the Constitution Committee would be bound to vote no on that proposal, even if the community said, yes, we think this is a great idea. Let's change the block size to 0.
So does the Constitutional Committee supersedes the community vote then?
It's no, they're all required. So it's basically N of N. So basically, if a type of proposal requires Constitution Committee and DREP, that means both the Constitutional Committee has to have a quorum and yes votes, and DREPs have to have a quorum and yes votes.
Gotcha.
And what the release valve for that, Lath, is the vote of no confidence on the Constitutional Committee. The Constitutional Committee's job is to evaluate versus the Constitution. Does it meet the Constitution? Yes or no? It's a simple question. If the community then decides that the Constitutional Committee got it wrong, well, then it's the community's job to have a vote of no confidence, which would bring up the SPOs and the DREPs together, who could vote no confidence on the Constitutional Committee, forcing it to be rebuilt.
When you're submitting a proposal, who determines what kind of committee is required to be on this ballot? Like, is the proposer requiring it, or is there another community deciding? Okay,
it's based on the type of voting action that it is, right?
Okay, so based on,
and that's in CIP 1694.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, like, for example, the info action, the Constitution Committee has no input onto the info action. It's just the SPOs and DREPs. Because that doesn't actually impact the blockchain at all. You can do a poll for whatever you want. The Constitution Committee doesn't have to basically say anything one way or the other for an info action.
Awesome.
And also, the Constitutional Committee has no say in whether or not they get no confidence vote. It's everybody else, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah,
they don't get to say
exactly. Yep.
So, but that's in that structure is that
they've got to vote on whether you can have a vote of no confidence first.
That might be a problem.
That could be a conflict of interest.
I'd like to know what I can use this for UK election next. Give everybody one Lovelace.
Well, that's what I said over actually in Edinburgh, was that my hope for this is that one day a group of people working in some government agency somewhere look at what we've done in Cardano and say, hey, that's more efficient than what we're doing.
It's like, transparent.
Exactly. We should use their model, and we and
even use Cardano to actually run the election. I'd be down for it.
Yeah. So
as we've stated repeatedly, this is minimum viable governance.
That's right.
Ideally, we get to a point where anyone can basically create any voting system with any rules they want and do it on the blockchain. We're not going to be doing that with Voltaire, but there might be a future governance structure that basically allows someone to say, hey, anyone that holds these native tokens can vote on my proposals for my SPO to basically do this or the other thing.
That's excellent, because we actually have a product like that, which we were manually putting together, but when we have the 1695 enables it natively on the chain, which probably will pivot towards that version.
Yeah. So this is cool. It's it's supposed to get boring. We're hoping it gets boring over time, but right now it's good that it's cool because it's new.
How can we help? Like, do you need more participation running SanchoNet nodes or actually using it?
If you're not an SPO, you got to wait probably another month or so before you're going to be able to do much on SanchoNet other than submit actions and hope the SPOs vote on your action. If you're writing any community tooling, we're finalizing the CDDL specs. We're getting the queries necessary. Carlos Lopez de Lara on my product team is going to be running some focus groups with the community in the near future on what queries you need. I mean, we have a good idea of what ones people want, but we don't want to get in a situation that we implement all these queries and then people are like, yeah, I really wanted this query instead. Like we had with like the stake distribution stuff that we're currently remedying.
Good. Well, Sam, reach out whenever he starts to run those, or have him reach out whenever he's running those. We'll be happy to jump in and take a look at what's going on, and
Yeah, once we have the DREP support, I'd be happy to come back on here and give you guys an update. And
we love it.
Tires and have some fun with this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we appreciate you coming in today, Sam. And yeah, we're actually running up to the hour, so it's actually timed out pretty perfectly. And you know, if you guys let's move to final thoughts. You know, what are you guys thinking for how our governance is looking, or how our catalyst proposals are going? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think we're good, unless you guys want to see if you can play the Main Street video.
So I can't unless I have a copy of it.
No worries.
But I'll set that up for next time, so that we can play it next time. We got Brian Seven saying many thanks, Sam. Great to hear from you. And kudos.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Looking forward to the next visit.
Absolutely.
All right,
thanks, everyone. See you later.
See you later, Sam.
Take care. All right, guys. And on that note, happy Thursday.
Happy fucking Thursday.
It's been a long day. I'm not running out.
We're still live. All right, go ahead. We'll close it down.
And we'll see y'all next time.
See y'all.